right, Onya community. I am so excited because today we are talking about something that I always am being asked about, and that is lead generation with LinkedIn. It gets so overwhelming on where to begin, where to even start. And that's why I have the one and only expert, Melissa Henault, on the show to answer all of your questions. So Melissa, thank you so much for being here with me this morning.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
I absolutely cannot wait. And one of the things that we always do before we start the show, of course, is I would love to know the Spark Notes version of how in the world you started your business. I know your story. I love your story, but everyone listening, that is always the first question they have is, how did you get started?
Yeah, it's funny. I was a corporate executive who realized I'd kind of climbed Mount Everest and realized it was the wrong mountain, and decided I wanted to start my own business in the pockets of my time around my 9 to 5. And I quickly learned the untapped opportunity of networking and growing a business on LinkedIn. So my very first business in e-commerce, I crushed it using LinkedIn, and I couldn't believe no one else was using it. And at that point, I had a business coach who was like, why are you only using this for you? Like, your methodology could be formulated and produced and sold, and you could help so many other people find their ideal client, business partner, you name it, on LinkedIn using the attraction marketing methods that you've used. So I invested in a business coach and took my method and created a program. And it turns out it works for all types of businesses. And it's been a wild ride. So yeah, that's where it started.
I love that, Melissa. And you're so effective of it. I always see your client success stories, and it's just been so fun to watch all the incredible things that you have been teaching. So speaking of those things, one of the top questions I get asked all the time from clients, from friends, from colleagues, and I'm so interested and curious to hear your take on it, is how do you optimize your profile on LinkedIn? There are so many thoughts, so many tactics about updating things, what to write in your headline, how many client testimonials or things you should have on there, recommendations. So I would love to know the Melissa crash course on what you think is the most effective way to optimize your LinkedIn bio.
Absolutely. Well, there's two different types of people on LinkedIn. There's employees, and then there's business owners. And what I find is the number one mistake most entrepreneurs make and new business owners is that they've been traditionally kind of not brainwashed, but conditioned to use LinkedIn like a professional platform looking for a career. Right. And so the biggest mistake I find, even with some really phenomenal 7-figure earners in online businesses that I've been able to help them rebrand and generate better leads, is that they're representing themselves almost like employees, because over the past 10, 12 years that they've been on LinkedIn, before launching their businesses, their summaries read like resumes, right? Like, when I was 18 years old, I started as a lab tech, and then I did this, and then like all the way down at the bottom, maybe their value proposition or what they do today to serve is there, but it's so far down that users of LinkedIn have the attention span of a gnat, just like Instagram and Facebook. So if you don't catch them with the hook in the very beginning, you've lost them, right? So I would say that one of the fatal mistakes that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs make is they don't realize that their headline is absolute precious real estate. And it's one of the only platforms where that headline follows you wherever you go in the chat section and commentary of the platform. And the fatal mistake a lot of business owners kind of new to the platform make, who are looking and recruiting for clients, is they, what I call showboat, instead of actually think about the solution of the particular client that they have a solution for, or how they can solve their problem. So for instance, I had a client who traditionally was a pharmacist, hired me to help her because she'd started a coaching program where she was teaching people how to pivot in their careers, find other things outside of the basic retail pharmacy world. However, she was also a very highly thought of podcaster, like a keynote speaker, an author, all those things. And the fatal mistake that she was making on LinkedIn was that her headline was what I call showboating. She was actually still treating her page like she was an employee by kind of sharing all of her features and benefits of what made her amazing, right? So her headline was like keynote speaker, author, podcaster, pharmacist. And I'm like, so where in that headline are you actually advertising how you solve other people's problems or what you do?
Yes.
And she's like, I'm not. And I was like, are you using this platform to like, what are you using this platform for? Are you using it to get your next book? Are you using it to get on the next podcast? Or are you using it to recruit clients? And she's like, I'm using it to recruit clients. So we totally changed her headline, and it's now leads with career pivot coach for pharmacists. Boom. Right. And all of a sudden the magic starts to happen. The other thing is really kind of targetedly engaging with influencers in the space where the people hang out that she wants to recruit, because if she can do that, they see her headline and people who are looking for a change instantly click on her profile to learn more. Right. So I would say that like the bottom line is the number one mistake most recent business owners make and trying to use the platform is they're spending too much time kind of being braggadocious about themselves and kind of this employee mindset, instead of using the white space and using the platform to actually showcase how they solve people's problems, and kind of recruiting people into the programs or the solutions that they have. Does that make sense?
Oh my goodness. It's so spot on though. And it's so obvious and it's common sense, but I think it's one of those areas where we're just so used to templating everything that you introduce yourself here and you do that. And we forget that when our goal is to attract more people to us, that it's what's in it for them, not for us. It's not about us. And so I just think that is such a golden nugget. And thank you for sharing that. Okay. So next question. One of the things that I know is so centric to what you do and to how you consult with your clients is really attracting people to you instead of just posting and having that vomit of content going out, just trying to say me. I think a lot of what you do centers around client attraction. So I would love to know, what are some of your top client attraction strategies on LinkedIn, and how do they differ from what the general public typically does?
Yeah, great question. So we really coach to kind of the Gary Vee mentality of like the jab, jab, right hook, right? And the jab, jab, right hook is really give as much as you can. And on occasion, sell, right? More than anything, we talk about this all the time in our program. You need to build community before you sell. You need to build authority before you sell. You need to create value, know, love, and trust. And I know you know this. I mean, it's really no different than the other platforms, right? We're just doing it on LinkedIn, which happens to be one of the most underutilized platforms on the planet, with the widest organic reach, with an incredible network of people who have the income discretionary funds to invest in whatever it is you have to offer. But the key is, that you're giving so much value on a weekly basis that as you know, people, the average person, that only 1% of your audience is ever ready to purchase. So how can you be omnipresent and front and center and providing tremendous value every week, so that when that 1% is ready to purchase, they already think of you, they know your brand, they know your value. And we really coach a lot to knowing your potential clients' pain points and speaking to them on a weekly basis. And so I know sometimes we'll have clients come in who are fearful of giving away too much, right? Like I don't want to give too much value because I want to be able to sell that. And I'm like, you can never give too much value. Yeah. You can only build more and more authority. So I think that is like the number one thing that we really speak to inside of our academy. Secondly, which may not come as common knowledge, is that don't treat it like the stuffy business platform that people perceive it as. The platform has progressed a lot. And I would say that if your feed is really stuffy and boring, that's on you because of the network you have. And you need to do some work, growing the ideal network and ideal client base that you ultimately want to market to, right? So we really coach to strategically growing a network, which I love about LinkedIn because it's really a search engine, and you can search and optimize bringing the right people into your feed and then providing ridiculous value to them. But where I was going with that is like, show some dimension to yourself. And even though you are an authority and you're providing a lot of value, how can you also have some dimension and be unique? We find a lot of our clients end up landing big sales, not ultimately because of the authority they've put out there, but because of some common ground. So for instance, one of the real estate agents in our program just landed a huge deal. And he said that one of the reasons this guy went with him was because of a post about their alma mater. They both ended up going to the same college together, right? So it's like, how can you be human? And on that platform, how can you create humor? People love humor on that platform because everybody's like, a lot of people are stuffy, right? So how can you stand out and brighten people's days? So I don't know if that helps, but that's a little bit of what we coach to.
I love that so much. It's so valuable. And I've heard it said, and I know that it's a little bit cheesy and kind of cliche, but it's not one thing that you said about expanding your network. It's so true. And I've heard it said, it's not net sit, it's not net eat, it's net work. It is work. And I know that it's cheesy. However, so true that building a network, that is your key. I mean, everyone says your network is your network is your net worth. That's what it is. All these cliches and all of these cheesy things that we could say, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is that like, it's usually not always a content issue. The key is going and taking the time to find those people and attract those people and to utilize the platform where, again, you literally at your fingertips have every professional that you would need to be able to search and to reach out to it.
100%. We really speak to that balancing act because we have clients come in and some of them are really good at like being a ninja at growing their network. And in the beginning, they're like, but I'm not getting any leads. And I'm like, well, let's do a content audit. And they're like, oh, well, I haven't been posting anything. And I'm like, how in the heck how do they know you're open for business or that you're an authority in anything? Like, you can have an amazing network, but you have to balance it with content. And I've seen the reverse. I've had clients come in who have incredible copy and incredible content, but it falls on deaf ears because actually this is a fatal mistake. People will come into our program and have a couple thousand people in their network and they'll be like, already have a network. And they'll just start with their copy and be marketing and they're not getting any leads. And I'm like, you have a dusty old network that likely was a bunch of connections you made when you built out a resume 10 years ago. And you don't even know if these people use the platform, nor are they your ideal client. We got to hustle. We got to grow your network. We got to find the people that are ultimately going to be your customers. So just because you have a baseline network doesn't mean it's the right network.
And that leads me to a curveball question for you, Melissa. I don't know if you know the answer because it's about the algorithm. And then it's like at the end of the day, who actually knows? But I am curious, do you happen to know or have any insight on if people aren't actively growing their network with people that are active and engaged? I'm assuming that can probably hurt their overall ranking and effectiveness to be able to show content because no one's engaging.
100%. So our agency, actually, one of the things we do, and my own assistant who runs my platform for me, we call it priming the algorithm. So in her checklist and with all of our clients, before we'll post anything, we engage with at least 5 to 10 people and we like 5 to 10 likes and then 5 to 10 comments. And we do it strategically. So doing it strategically with ideal prospective clients, because LinkedIn sees that you're engaging with this particular demographic. And number one, they're going to kind of favor that back in the feed for you, which is what you want. Number two, they're going to see that you're an engager. So when the post does get made, it falls higher in the feed with priority because LinkedIn rewards engagers, right? So hands down, we call it a coffee date with LinkedIn. Like, our clients do 30 minutes in the morning with our little checklist, and you guys can have it, but they just run through the checklist. And one of the things on the checklist is, wait, before you post, have you engaged? Go engage first, because your LinkedIn's going to favor you. And it makes a big difference if you have the LinkedIn Live function. So if you have to have at least 150 in your network, and you have to be engaging and you have to be adding content in order for LinkedIn to qualify you to go live, which is a great place to play right now.
I love that. So many effective tips. And I think that's the key, engagement. It is probably and arguably the most simple aspect to creating and really making momentum, because it's simple. You're just responding. You don't have to proactively do anything. But I think it's the discipline of it and the consistency of it that trips people up, because it really is very, very simple to go through your feed, to like and to comment. I mean, people are posting 24/7 if you have an engaged network, but it is the step that most of us forget. And from what I'm hearing from you, arguably the most important. So really, really good tidbit for us all to know.
Well, and I think one thing I'd like to hit on here, and I'd love your thoughts on this, but what I have seen personally, and hey, we run Facebook ads, right? Like we run ads, we balance ads along with organic reach. But what we have found anecdotally within our own business and with our clients is that conversion rates on sale, open cart are much higher from our organic leads from LinkedIn. But to your point, like one could argue, well, it takes a lot of work, right? Versus just like opening the faucet with ads and it just like kind of running itself. However, what I will tell you is it's nice to have a balance, right? And to never have like fully depending on anything. What I love about LinkedIn is that yes, you have to do the work up front. Yes, you have to build your network. But what I love is that once you've built the network, you own it. You don't have to pay over and over and over again to market to a particular demographic. It's yours. You control it. Right. You really know. But then the other thing is, again, the conversion rate. So why are the conversion rates higher? I would argue that the conversion rates on LinkedIn are higher because they actually are people who see your content on a daily basis. They're not a complete cold opt-in from across the world that are not part of your social network. On LinkedIn, they're seeing your content. They're seeing you become an authority in your space. You're doing the work. So when they opt into a workshop, the conversion rate can be 3 to 5% higher with them than a little bit longer of a nurture sequence with the cold ads, which is, again, we do both. Yeah. Right. We do both.
But you're exactly right. It is very, a year or two ago, it was a lot easier to convert pre-pandemic and pre-iOS from cold traffic. And now it is an uphill battle. And it's usually going to take a few cycles and a few months of someone being engaged with you to be able to bring them on. And most people, again, most growing and scaling companies don't have that time. And while it's absolutely 100% needed, you need both. You cannot put your eggs in one basket. And I mean, most businesses have different, you're tapping into your local network. If you're a local company, you're tapping into your organic social media, you're tapping into ads, you're going to events. Like you cannot just rely. That is a very scary business to be in. If you are going to rely on one single medium and put all of that pressure on one medium, gives me anxiety for those people just thinking about it.
Right. I know. And we're everywhere, like we're engaging in Facebook groups, bringing in warm leads that way. We're running ads, bringing leads in that way. We're engaging on LinkedIn, bringing them in that, like we're just, I don't like having all my eggs in one basket. Ever.
And you can't, because as we've seen, when that basket breaks, it can reap major, major, major consequences. So my last big question for you, Melissa, because I know I want to talk to you all day. I know you've got a busy schedule. For the people that are listening, because then the question that I hear that's not asked as often is when you're doing all the things, you're creating the content, you're building your network, you're going out and you're prospecting, you're engaging. What do you believe on LinkedIn specifically is the best next step to convert that lead and get them into your pipeline? Is it an event? Is it a conversation? I think people have been, I don't want to say burned, but they've been inundated by so many drip sequences and the DMs that it's a little bit harder to tap that. So I would love your insight on what is the most effective way to engage that person to the next part of the sales process.
Yeah, what a great question. I will tell you, for us, like in my business personally, we have what we call kind of social sellers who manage my DMs. And so we work through kind of creating, and depending on if you've got one business or multiple businesses, that because you can triage people through the funnel to like different things, because we have different offerings in different businesses, right? So I think part of it is having a really good, either you or someone that you've hired that's really well versed in kind of your verbiage funnel to prioritize inviting people to your event. But so there's a couple things. So one is having someone, well-versed in the DMs to kind of know what we coach to are really well scripted. And I hate to use the word script, but it's more open-ended questions to truly engage and understand people's pain points so that we've earned the right to present to them an opportunity, a program, or something for them to take a look at. But the other thing that's really cool about LinkedIn is that they have LinkedIn Live. And so we've been streaming our events, our live launches through LinkedIn Live. So people are seeing content and have the option to opt in right there. They're engaging in our content. So we have a couple of different methodologies we do with that, right? So I talked about being a thought leader and creating value. So one of the things we coach to and we do ourselves is we call it Cleanup Friday. So on Fridays, my VA goes in and looks who all engaged in these posts around this particular topic. And is it a point of conversation to take over into the DMs because they engaged about this value add post, right? Again, some people are going to be like, that's a lot of work, but I have found those conversion rates are much higher. And I, pay someone commission-based when the sale happens, they're getting commission. And so it's worked really nicely for us.
I love that. It's so brilliant and such great wisdom there, because I know that that's the part where everyone gets tripped up. They want to send scripts and they're just like, what do we do? So that's such great feedback. Melissa, this has been so valuable. I am so excited for this episode to come out. Where can everyone find you? How can they connect with you and learn more about what you do? And of course, if they need help with LinkedIn, get in touch with you.
Sure. Well, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. Every week I'm streaming value over there that you can go check out. I also you can go to my website, burnouttoallout.co. So burnouttoallout.co, and you can see all the different things we have. We have our academy, we have a done for you service, and we've got an agency. So you can check us out. And, probably once a quarter, we do totally free, webinars for a couple days. We've got one. It's not till like March 28th. I don't know when this drops, but we've got a free 8-day workshop that our clients love, where we just give you soup to nuts, how to run on LinkedIn. But that's probably the best way to get in touch with me is over on LinkedIn or go to my website.
Amazing. Melissa, thank you so much again. So excited to just continue to glean all the amazing pieces that you give out through your content. And I know that we'll talk sooner than later.
Awesome. Thank you.